Analysis, stand by. We're going to shift now from the law to what Chad's body language might be telling the jury, which could have an impact on how they decide things when it comes to his penalty. Chad has never appeared to be disturbed that his former wife and 2 children were missing and then dead. Let's take a look back at a moment that really screams that point.
Where are your children?
Talk to us, Lily.
Yeah, why don't you just give us a comment? Just tell us where they are. Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad? Can you tell us what happened to Tammy? Why have you guys been in Hawaii for so long?
That's them in Hawaii when the world wanted to know, where are the kids? Let's bring in our next guest, jury consultant and human behavior expert. Susan Constantine is with us. Susan, thanks so much for being on. I want your read on Chad Daybell and how these jurors might be perceiving him. For the most part, he's been stoic, just as stoic as we saw him in that video. Your take on what they may be reading from that?
So what jurors are looking for is, does he have any sort of emotion, right? Any sort of emotional affect. He's very fastidious. When we see him sitting in the chair, he doesn't move much, right? So he kind of stays within his own little frame and doesn't move or shift too much. Shows that he's very fastidious. He's very meticulous. You might see him every now and then kind of moving a pencil and kind of coming back, but he doesn't go outside of his frame. So he will appear emotionless. You can see his eyes darting off to one side, but his head stands still. That's only like that suspicion and curiosity, but then he goes right back into that neutral place. So he looks very rigid. His neatly pressed clothes and tightly interlocked hands shows me that he is a person that has to have control. He's a very black and white person, plan and execute. When you go offside of that, if he doesn't get what he wants, he can become very demanding, very difficult to be around. So his flat affect and lack of emotion is not going to sit well with these jurors because they're wanting to see some sort of a real person, some real emotion, something. And I just don't think we're going to see that from him.
It's been really difficult to see more than that. You mentioned it spot on with what we've gotten from our team that's there inside of the courtroom, that he just looks at his attorney without moving his head. That's what we were hearing during jury selection and at the beginning of this process. But we did hear in the last couple of days from our correspondents there in the courtroom that when he's hearing the details about the digging up of the remains of these victims, the finding of their flesh and bones, that he was shaking some when he was hearing that and maybe seeming to have some emotion. Of course, these jurors are reacting emotionally too. What if you were a jury consultant for this defense? Would you be telling him to lean more into that wouldn't look disingenuous?
Well, you don't coach a witness how to respond. What you do is you teach them by letting them see their own demeanor and ask them what they see and how other people would perceive that. They then adjust. But the shaking obviously is anxiety, it's fear. When you are in a hyper elevated state, it's going to leak out somewhere, and those shivers and so forth. That's not the same as someone that's feeling sad or remorseful or concerned. He's more concerned about that they are showing this, and that's creating this fear response that's leaking out through the shivering.
I wonder if this is one of the few times he's had to face this kind of evidence because he's been behind bars. Susan, I do want to play a soundbite from a call that he made to a friend after his first wife, Tammy's death. Take a listen.
My own children were there. They testified that Tammy had been getting weaker and sick, and I begged her to go to the doctor. Her heart was failing her. She was physically falling apart, but she hates doctors, and she just passed away. That's how it happened. There were 2 coroners. They checked her out right there on the bed. All these conspiracy theories just make me sick to my stomach. Just absolutely sick. I know I've been told for years that Tammy would pass away at a young age.
Susan, if he takes the stand, that's likely how he's going to sound when he denies that his wife died from anything other than natural causes. Your take on listening to the voice of Chad Daybell?
Sure. So this fits right in with that whole meticulous, fastidious person, right? His voice is also very flattened and no flat modulation. There's no movement or emotion in his words. You don't hear any rhythm or pace, nothing. And do you feel it? That's the other thing is when he says that, does it move you to feel empathy? And if it doesn't, it's constructed. It's not real because real emotions will affect other people and they will feel the same emotion. The other thing that I noticed is he never mentioned anywhere in there that I was so concerned about my wife. I took her to the doctor. I went with her. It was none of that. What he's doing, he's setting up all of these plethora of things that were happening. And at the very end, they said, well, we already knew she was going to die anyway. The doctors told us that she was going to at some point. Well, I got to tell you, I don't think that's going to go well over a lot of women that are in there, especially that are on this jury.
No, for sure. For years, he believed that she was going to be dying at a young age. It just boggles the mind. Susan Constantine, behavior expert, thank you so much for your analysis. I know we have to say goodbye to you, but don't go anywhere. Still to come on